Welcome to a ruined chapel by moonlight. I'm your host, Bertold Gambro, and today I'm reviewing Telling Sonny by Elizabeth Gauffreau. This is a literary novel about a young woman named Phoebe who lives in Vermont in the 1920s. Phoebe is obsessed with vaudeville acts that come to town. Every year, she attends with her sister and relishes watching the different acts. One performer in particular who catches her eye is a dancer called Slim White, who bills himself as America's favorite hoofer. Phoebe catches his eye as well, and after a quick fling one evening, Phoebe becomes pregnant. White, whose real name is Louis Cattell, seems willing to do the right thing and marries her, and the newlyweds start off on a trip across the eastern United States, as Cattell moves from one town to another performing in various shows. Normally, what I'll find most memorable about a book is either the plot or the characters. I've just described about 80% of the plot, saving one semi-twist near the end, and while it's certainly fine, it wasn't what grabbed me. As for the characters, Phoebe starts out as a naive girl, barely more than a child, and while it's easy to feel pity for the situation she finds herself in, she's a very passive type. Things happen to her, rather than her doing them. And then we've got Louis. He's basically a con man. A charming con man, to be sure. Think Robert Preston in The Music Man or Burt Lancaster in The Rainmaker, but still ultimately a con man. It quickly becomes clear to Phoebe that he lies routinely and often for no apparent reason. Given this, many of his later actions are not really surprising. He's not an absolutely terrible person, and he does, in some sense, care for Phoebe. But he's far from being a good guy, and much of the book is just waiting for the inevitable in that regard. But even though the characters weren't the most likable folks in the world and the plot is straightforward, I recommend this book strongly to fans of literary fiction. There are two reasons. One, the writing is just beautiful. It reminds me of Mark Paxson's and his mentor, Zoe Keithley's, knack for crafting gorgeous paragraphs that really make you feel what the characters are feeling. For that reason alone, this is worth picking up. The other reason is the setting. The author clearly spent a lot of time researching the culture, the fashions, the technology, and the slang of the 1920s, and it paid off in a big way. And I loved all the references to vaudeville. Louis may be a lying scoundrel, but I can't deny that his little tidbits about the vaudeville life are enjoyable. There are numerous references to many then-famous performers, including a brief mention of Elsie Janis. Janis is little remembered today, but she was known as the sweetheart of the American Expeditionary Force for her benefit shows in World War I. She also hailed from my own stomping grounds of Central Ohio. I once lived in an apartment built more or less on the site of her Columbus home. As you can tell from the above, I love history, and this book is like stepping into a time machine to a bygone era. I've read a decent amount of historical fiction, but it's rare to find something that transports you so completely to another era. That, combined with the wonderful prose, are what make Telling Sonny memorable.